In part 2, we left off with installing these giant windows in the dining room. And today, we're going to talk about how we replaced this door to put in another window, built this accent wall, as well as several other features throughout the dining room. So after opening this wall and building our dining room table, one thing we really struggled with is how do we place the dining room table? Do we center it in this opening? If we do that, it overlaps this exterior door, which creates a strange kind of compact, uncomfortable traffic flow. Or do we pull the table back away from the door, but then creating a weird off-centered feeling with the opening? So since we didn't really need to use this door often and it wasn't very far from our front door, we decided to make it into a window. So with this now being a window, we're able to center the dining room table on the opening, giving a really nice, purposeful look. So when we decided on the vertical slat treatment for the wall, we were really struggling with how do we transition that from the wall to the window space, and then we decided why not just run it all the way across? Since we were using the 1x6 on the top and the bottom and floating these off the wall anyways, it allowed us to do this really cool, cohesive look that goes all the way across, and at night you don't even know there's a window there.
All right, so for the backdrop of the wall, we used a 1/4 inch Luan plywood, which we sanded and stained prior to install. We used a nail gun and a level for install to make sure that the seams were as level as possible, because we weren't always sure that the seam was going to be hidden and not exposed in between these vertical pieces. We then used a 1x6 molding on the top and bottom. Since the Luan was 4x8, and this wall is almost 9.5 foot tall, it allowed us some flexibility and breathability on each top and bottom so that the panels could kind of move and shift with the house as it settled.
We got the first 3 panels up and the first part of the floorboard molding. Sorry. What do you think?
It's good. I like the wood.
Yeah. Me too.
It needs some sort of poly or something like that.
Oh boy. Good job, Caden.
One more.
Oh, one more. Oh.
Should just slide right on in.
Nice. Status update. We have the stained plywood up. We have all the crown molding down. Getting ready to put the new square molding up. We moved the credenza in that we brought from the office. So that little entertainment center that Rodney was building last week was so that we could trade it for this little jewel that we've had at the office. And I'm very excited to have it. So now that this isn't a door, we probably should have moved this somewhere else. But we're gonna just do our best with it. And part of that is going to be trying to get these switches to blend in as much as possible. So Rodney's spray painting the plates, and we have these smart switches that we have to disassemble and paint as well. There we go, not recommended because you're not gonna be able to tell what the buttons mean, but these are controlled by Surrey anyways, and no one will really be using them. But it should all blend in nicely. See, they basically look like they came this way. All right, so just got all the lighting down. Rodney's doing touch-ups on the paint, and we're gonna start working on putting all the new lighting in. Like, oh gosh, where is it? Oh, here it is. The sky. The attic, or I'm in the attic, because installing some new lighting, just discovered that there's already can lights in the ceiling. 1, 2, there's one back there, 3, 4. This one's a little close. I'm not sure where that's at. 5, so I'm assuming there's 6. So we might be able to save ourselves some time and money by just reusing these. This one is in the middle of these 2 studs, which is the next set of studs past where we just did the light. And then the next 2 studs is where this one is. That does not necessarily seem to be in line with where the can light is over there, but I'm not sure. See it. Wow. Ooh. That's real bright. Pretty.
Thanks.
Having fallen in love with the style of the beadboard and not wanting the extra expense that might come along with exposing those existing can lights, we decided to leave them there for now, and maybe in the future we might expose them or replace them to add additional lighting to this room. For now, the new light fixture as well as all the natural light is more than enough light for this room.
So good dining room chairs are really hard to come by. So what we did is we kind of took an alternative approach. We went to a thrift shop and we found a set of 6 with this particular shape, and we fell in love with them. However, our dining room is much larger than just 6 chairs. So we went kind of shopping around our own house, and we had these guys in a storage room, and there was a set of 4 of these, which got us to our 10 chairs total that we needed. However, the lacquer paint and the funky kind of copper pleather that was on this set, and the kind of industrial gray padded cloth on the back and seats of this set obviously weren't the vibe. So we took a moment to get them all torn apart, removed the fabrics, got them all sanded down, got them some new stain and sealed them, reupholstered the seats, and then they worked out perfectly.
Here we go. Now the stain color. Oh, on the deck. Why doing this on the deck? Oh, that's pretty. So pretty.
All right, so when it came time to select what material we were going to use for these vertical pieces, because it had such a major impact, we knew that we wanted something that was going to be warm and inviting, and we ended up going with a 2x4 by 10 foot cedar. We chose the cedar because of that kind of more natural orange color that it brings out, And by doing the 2x4, we felt like we were going to have a little bit more kind of strength out of the wood since this space was almost 9.5 foot tall. We then took the 2x4s, ran them through the table saw to cut them in half, and then used those as spacers as we installed them. And prior to install, we did sand, stain, and poly them because getting in between all of these little spaces and grooves inside would have been near impossible. We also chose to do a spray poly just to make sure we got good even coverage.
So we didn't get as far as we wanted to.
Because of Brad.
Oh, well, he brought us these very nice lights. Look at him.
He did.
They're very cool. But we at least got to a point where you can see what we're trying to do. And that's these guys. We're gonna take it across the window and then all the way down, giving it a really cool look. What do you think?
Love you, Brad. All right, on a serious note, Brad did bring us some super cool lights. There are two fixtures. They're both double chandeliers. I would guess they're most likely from the 60s, give or take a little. He was doing some reno in his house in Arkansas and found them and is replacing them because most people wouldn't. But we're gonna reuse them. So it comes from one single spot, and then you have two fixtures on either side. This one's got a super long chain, which is gonna be super awesome for our space. And they're gonna be beautiful. So though we fell in love with the lights that Brad brought us, we did ultimately decide not to end up hanging them in this space because it would have meant our new chandelier and Brad's lights would have both been hanging. Instead, we opted for a lamp on the credenza here on this side, and we ended up using those hanging lights down in the den above the piano.
What do you think? So here we are finally installing the vertical slats. We started in the far left side of the wall. We used the level to make sure that our first board was square, and then we used another one of these posts as a spacer between each board. As we made our way down, every few boards we would check our level again just to make sure things weren't getting off. All right, that is all for today. The rest will be resumed tomorrow, maybe? Maybe next weekend? What do you think?
Beautiful. So worth the time. I'd recommend it to anybody.
You don't seem convinced.
No, I'm not. Ask me next week.
We are dealing with an old house where most of the walls are no longer square anyways, so there's a lot of small adjustments that had to be made. We made our way from the left all the way down to the right, and we love the result. Finally, the full wall is done.
Good.
Looks so good. So after sleeping on it for 3 years, how do you feel about the wall?
I would say now that I've actually gotten some sleep and not in the middle of the project, I think it's totally worth it. I think for what we needed out of the space, the warmth that we wanted it to bring, I think it definitely solved the issue. This room also having the taller ceilings, I think some of that wood is actually really helps with the acoustics of this space too,
totally.
which is kind of a side benefit of it.
And we liked it so much that we sort of recreated the design on at least 2 other walls in the house so far.
That we did. We have a lot of vertical slats now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, so that's it for episode 3 or phase 3, which got us to where our dining room is at today.
If you liked this video, make sure you check out our channel to see all of our other projects we've already posted, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified next time we post a new project.
And as always, we want to say thank you and a huge shout out to all of our members, and thank you for your support.
Also, make sure you follow us on other social media. We are at Rodney and Jake on Instagram and TikTok. Also, check out our website, rodneyandjake.com, where we go into more depth into some of these design projects on our blog.
We'll see you guys next time.
Later.